This is the strongest character we have submitted into the whole of Grandmasters so far. Moving on from submitting full tank builds, this is a well-rounded high DPS high defense build. At this point it was over 2 years since the first and more than half a year since the second Grandmaster. In short, it is a classic attack-based instacker with the best gear available on standard at the moment. Stacking high amounts of intelligence, the damage scaling starts with flat lightning damage per intelligence coming from the Claw Synth Implicit, Legacy Crucible tree, and Legacy Sentinel modifier on boots. Intelligence also scales increases to damage from the Amulet and accuracy rating through Shaper's Touch, which scales attack speed through the Juggernaut Ascendancy node undeniable. The rest of the Ascendancy provides stun and slow immunity, endurance charges, and some damage reduction. The tree is the usual glorious Adorn setup, which is only 5 1 passive voices because there is a Legacy Supercharge cluster notable, which is better than the 6 voices. The magic jewels have a mix of int, accuracy, attack speed and ES. The main defensive recovery layer is the GGNoobs classic Graven Belt, converting power charges to absorption charges, granting 160% ES recoup. Using Grand Spectrums we have 9 minimum charges, which are always up. The charges don't fall off and cannot be stolen. Even though having 24,000 accuracy, the build is using Resolute technique because that is the best way to deal with enemy evasion, percent chance to evade attacks, being blinded, or enemies directly debuffing our accuracy rating. This way we don't use a prefix on the weapon for hits can't be evaded, and we can still take precise technique instead of EO or crits. Despite the straightforward nature of instack building, there are a lot of choices when it comes to PvP. An opponent can try to counter in a multitude of ways, which would require manual swaps. In the past, block chance reduction support gem was often used, but nowadays block is not meta, so it doesn't deserve a main support link anymore. Multi-strike would be the best support gem on paper, but considering state-of-the-art defenses like Defiance of Destiny or Blood Notch on the players, it would actually reduce our damage potential in many cases. The armor and energy shield mastery against physical hits is a massive defensive layer on both this build and the opponents, which could be bypassed by converting 100% physical damage to elemental at the cost of a support gem or the glove slot. Changing the forbidden jewels from defensive to offensive, swapping in a Nimis and changing support gems, I could have a very different power balance, but I decided to optimize it to hunt unsuspecting average players instead of trying to counter the well-prepared Grandmaster farmers. This build is a direct upgrade to its inspiration, Putrefy, Rot, Spoil and Fester, a well-known Grandmaster with the same archetype. Since that submission, the Grandmasters can now use Cluster Jewels, Pantheons, Tattoos, Crucible Trees, perfect recombined Legacy gear, or the Adorned. It is much tankier with the recoup, much faster on the Whirling Blades to chase down players, and deals a lot more damage. As an example, the first GGNoobs could easily tank Putrefy, but this build can kill it in a second. The second GGNoobs, however, is much tankier. It can out-heal the third one, even without the groundbreaking armor ES mastery. This character was geared in March before Necropolis League and submitted a bit later in May due to time constraints. I already highlighted some future upgrades coming from League for the full tank Grandmaster in my previous video. Disabling enemy penetration is incredibly powerful, but you have to force these items into the build until it converts 100% of cold and lightning to fire, which would make us lose a lot of DPS on this character. Using Sublime Vision would make us lose auras, which raises problems with ailments, attack speed, recovery and ES pool. With Clarity, however, the new Haunted Mono per Intelligence helmet mod would be worthwhile even on this build, just for the ES. The bane of the anti-penetration setup is the unique helmet Trickster's Smile, which can still bring our resistances down to 0. Even if we only deal, let's say, lightning damage, they can just take it as another damage type, so they can always eradicate all 3 resistances with the correct setup. On the full tank build, I can avoid that by sacrificing all my damage taking Ancestral Bond, but that's obviously not viable on other builds. Another method to counter that helmet is using Original Sin, which can be very overpowered, as it does work versus players, but it would still sacrifice all damage versus CI opponents. Coming full circle on mechanics countering each other. How beautiful! Captain Lance intends to submit his Necropolis Mana Stacker character as a Grandmaster with some upgrades once it merges to Standard. He already has the mentioned defenses, and dueling with him it does prove very strong already. We both tested versus the tanky GGNoobs, and the DPS is comparable. Currently my defenses are not on par, but once I get the Necropolis upgrades we won't be able to down each other with these two builds, and I will also help him to completely deck his character out as a Grandmaster. The cycle continues. I'm looking forward to what new opportunities the next league can bring to PvP, but the wait is always long until the new items actually merge to Standard. If anyone still has Grandmaster tokens and would like to personally submit one of these characters, let me know, I have a lot more ideas. Subscribe to not miss out on the next niche Standard build I will post about. Thanks for watching.